The In It Together with Lynn Greene talk show is a positive way to start your day. Ready for some encouragement?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin.
Come be inspired, hear moving stories, even laugh out loud.
Can't make heads or tail of what I'm saying.
Just incomprehensible.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You'll hear real people doing real things to make a real impact.
You are heroes every day.
Hear honest, compassionate, engaging issues you care about.
You see people come together to do good in our community, and the more we come together, the more good we can do.
Listen in and get started on redesigning your life and hear what's positive in Greater Manchester. Here's your happy host, Lynn Greene.
Good morning, friends in Greater Manchester. Welcome to In It Together. I am so glad that you've tuned in. If you'd like to find me on the web, you can go to inittogether.net, listen live or to previous shows, even link to our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you like and follow us, you'll see we're bringing out the best in people to influence positive change in this community and beyond. Today is The Good Life with yours truly, and we'll be talking about first world problem solving. But first, we need to take a brief break, and you don't want to miss this, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Mark Major knows that great coaches need constant training to be effective. As a certified coach, teacher, and speaker with the John Maxwell team, Mark can help you identify and activate your personal and professional goals. If you seek to do more and be more, look up Mark on the web at johnmaxwellgroup.com/MARC Major or call 603-674-6818. Mark Major, growing leaders and adding value. CrossNet Inc. offers computer and IT services for commercial clients as well as local personal users. We create tailor-made plans for your business's unique needs, from computer repairs to managing networks, servers, and desktops. CrossNet Inc. offers managed services, data backups, virus protection, web filtering, and more. For more information, go to crossnetinc.com or call for your personalized IT services today at 603-589-2520. CrossNet Inc. IT services that keep your business running when you're on the run.
Hi, I'm Bob Bola, Chief Instructor of Defensive Strategies and anchor of the Personal Safety segment, where we talk about personal protection, situational awareness, and home defense. Tune in every Thursday at 9 a.m. and refuse to be a victim. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Back to In It Together, kicking off The Good Life this morning. So excited that you guys are listening or watching. Let's see. All the things we do here, those of you in live stream, obviously you are watching a live radio broadcast on the internet. And those of you who are on the live radio broadcast on the internet, we welcome you both. First, this morning, I just want to talk about a little bit about how, we're talking about first world problem solving. Mondays, every Monday on these segments, The Good Life, this is really not about, making a living. I guess, everybody is thinking about making a living. It's more about encouraging and inspiring us to make the life that we really want. So I want to encourage you, grab a coffee. I don't have mine this morning, but grab a coffee, sit down and just kind of relax a little bit. And there's going to be a couple nuggets in this show that you absolutely will have takeaways that'll help you in some of your problem solving. Okay, so a lot of the topics that I use or that I choose every week are basically from personal experience of challenges that I've had to overcome, but also in helping the clients that I have overcome them as well. And in that process, I learn not only I can look back and say what happened and begin to bring on the show, the steps that brought us from the problem, chaos, being uncomfortable, to a place where now, we're happy with the results that we have. So as an advancement strategist and coach trainer of Alpha Advancement Strategies, I've had a lot of opportunities to help people, especially dealing with challenges so that they can live a happier, more fulfilling life. And that's what it's about. So this is where I get to share what I've learned with you so that you can move forward in your life as well. And a lot of people that try to teach things do it from what they're reading and learning, and I do it from my experience. So I think there's a difference between getting information and having something that brings transformation into your life. And I think this is what my goal is to see actual results and transformation in your life. So I'm taking a moment to just welcome those of you listening from radio or live stream. I'm really glad that you are here. If you want to comment or leave a comment, ask a question, share about maybe how you solved one of your problems, or I call them first world problems because a lot of them really are. And it's kind of a play on words when I use that, first world problems. Okay, if we think about it, we really only have really only have a problem if we're not looking for the solution. Okay, so if we're looking for a solution, we will solve it. And we have to have that optimism that it's possible. That's the first thing. A lot of life is about solving the problem right in front of us, because nobody, very rarely do we have a day that's, man, that was the perfect day. Everything went right. And I came out smelling like a rose. That's not the norm for most of us. There's always obstacles. So the problems that we create sometimes is when we neglect to handle the things in front of us. We let them stay there and grow, and they get worse, not better. Okay, so it requires taking a personal responsibility for the results that you're having. Okay, this means we're not blaming somebody else. We're not blaming the circumstances. We're not blaming society, and we're certainly not blaming God, because His Word says to us that He's given us everything we need for life and godliness, and it's true. And, an amazing mentor of mine once told me that we only experience life to the level that we think we can. And I think, this is profoundly true. We'll never have an experience or live beyond what we tell ourselves about it. Okay, so being solution-minded instead of problem-focused is a non-negotiable. If we get that out of the way up front, you can get the yeah, but, and we need to get that but out of the way. If there's still a but, then you need to get that out of the way and begin to focus more on how it can be solved than how painful it is, how it's ruining what you're doing, or who it is, who you think it is. Because the moment we begin to blame is the moment we've decided we're not taking responsibility for our own outcomes and our own experience in our own life. And we don't want to do that. Okay, so we have to make it non-negotiable. And if we don't, we're going to continue to struggle, and we'll never solve anything. And that's no life to live. That's not a life I chose to live. I used to live like that, and it really wasn't working for me. Okay, you are basically here, and I am here. We're all here because we serve a purpose, and our purpose is to solve problems, not create them. Okay, so this is how we know if we're living the good life that we're talking about. Okay. We're free from disappointment, we're free of excuses, and we're free of pain. Okay, so pain is part of life, but it's not supposed to be a way of life. Okay, so the question is, are you going to be a first world problem solver, or we're either going to be a part of that solution, or we're going to really be a part of the problem, perpetuating the problem and being a burden to those who are problem solvers who are trying to solve them. But they'll still solve them, but we want to make it easier for them, and we want to be part of the answer. So perspective is key, okay? We need to always see things bigger than what's in front of us. because it goes beyond us. If we think that the sum total of the thing in front of us, the problem that we perceive is in front of us, is just about us, we really are missing it. And we have to think bigger about that. And I'm going to get more into this as we talk and as I move forward in this conversation with you. And I say it's a conversation because I want you to be able to engage with me here this morning. Okay, think about some things in your life that maybe have been a problem for you. Okay, what's your first world problem? And I say first world problems because our life is either impacting others, okay, or we're ask yourself this: what am I multiplying in the world? Am I multiplying what everybody else is? We see this in social media and the news all the time. Everybody sees a post, something negative that's going on, and everybody shares it. They're bringing the bad news. Okay, let's just put it this way. If you want a good life, you have to have good news. If you want to have a bad life, continue to immerse yourself in the bad news. Okay, the only way to solve a problem is to come up above the problem, not at the level that it exists. So if your life is going to impact yourself and others, because you are impacting others all the time, whether you admit it, whether you want to take responsibility for it, you're multiplying in the world whatever it is that you are living from. So if you are constantly focused on problems in the negative, that's what you're going to give to the world. Or you can be better, okay? So we can give the world disappointment and excuses and pain, or we can give them an encouragement, reasons, and we can contribute to their happiness by being happy ourselves. So that's a choice. That's not something that I would be happy if you're still saying I would be happy if, and then you just fill in the blank after that. That's only good if you actually are planning on taking action on the if you're planning on being part of the solution to the if, okay? We're either going to settle for, the disappointment, or we're going to take responsibility to be the change or find the answer. Okay, so don't settle for disappointment. Do something about it. Own it. Take responsibility. And the other thing is once you have an idea which way you're going to go, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think, wise people realize that they're not going to do everything on their own. They realize that we don't know it all, but we can connect with other people who have different abilities, different insights. And I think it's very, very healthy to do that. In this age, people are so easily offended that they're afraid to let somebody else in their life, and that isolation is really what causes people to stay in their problems longer. And I think this is what part of the concept of the show In It Together is, from a vision that I had, seeing people from all walks of life be able to mutually support each other in the things that they're doing, but not where it has to take away from what you're doing. And I think that's the mentality a lot of people have, is if I ask for help, then it's going to take away from, we have too much pride. We want to look like we're self-made. That's bunk. There's no such thing as self-made. There really isn't. I mean, if you had a mother and a father, or if you had a mentor or a teacher or a pastor or a good friend who's ever helped you, you didn't make it alone, and you won't make it alone. Okay, so this morning, as we're talking about solving first world problems, my focus is to help you to understand how you can find solutions, okay? So if you've ever solved a problem, I'm going to ask you this. What helped you find the solution, and was it as bad as you thought it was? That's a good question this morning. If you're listening on live stream, or if you are on the radio broadcast this morning, if you've ever had a problem, think about this. What helped you find the solution, and was it as bad as you thought it was? And looking back in hindsight, now someone came to you and said, wow, how'd you do that? You could tell them. And this is what we want to be in the world. Somebody that has answers. We want to be the answer and not always the problem. I'm not saying that we don't have them sometimes, but when we learn how to approach a problem, which is some of the stuff we're going to cover today, the process of going through it, then the pain that we have doesn't become a place that we park and stop and dwell on. It becomes a place to identify that we need to reach out, look past the problem, and be more solution-minded, okay? So this is the epitome of first world problems, one that seems impossible at the time, but when you come out on the other side, it wasn't so bad after all, okay? We know that there are problems. People joke around, first world problems. Oh, I can't get my phone to work, or technology, or things like that, but we know there are people with real problems all around us. And so we don't want to add to that, okay? Truth be told, we sometimes create our own problems, but we want to be more willing to be honest about them and approach them in a better way. Okay, so I don't want to minimize today those of you who are struggling to move forward in different things. I just want to help you assess it honestly. And I had to kind of start the show this way so that it gets your mindset in a way that it's like, okay, am I taking responsibility for the problem in front of me? Am I really looking at the problem and focusing on it and just getting mad about it, or am I looking for the bigger picture and the answer, okay? It's perfectly fine, like I said before, to ask for help. And I want to share recently, I was coaching someone, and they were overwhelmed in a situation that they were having. And basically in a place that it really just didn't feel good. And when we're in that place, it doesn't feel good for us either. Okay, so we might feel pressured or stressed or overwhelmed. And so this person that I was helping was a wonderful person, intelligent, hardworking, willing to do whatever they needed to do, but had no clue on how to approach it. It was a new area for them. And that's typically the truth for all of us. When something gets hard, there's always a learning curve. Think about starting a new job, or a new position somewhere, or, doing something for the first time, like putting in a floor in your bathroom, or, whatever it is. The problem before you, if you're doing something for the first time, there's always a learning curve. Radio wasn't something I ever thought I wanted to do, or media. This isn't something as an introvert that someone does. I'm doing this because I see the bigger picture of bringing solutions to problems more than I see or allow myself to feel what I do or don't want to do. Because your feelings really aren't who you are, and they aren't really the determining factor. We do what's right because it's right, and everybody wins when we do that. Okay, so as I was talking with this person that was struggling, I was able to help them through this process, okay? And so one of the things as I was talking to them was to really listen to what they were saying and find key things in what they were saying that I knew was problem-focused and not solution-focused. And then I began to help them see their problem differently by showing them different options that they may not have had before. And then in that, I was able to help them identify why it was important to them to be able to solve that problem so they can put things in better perspective. So the starting point was, how are they thinking about it? What's the perspective that they have about it? And then I could help them take steps to turn things around. But first, they have to own it. They had to decide, okay, this is not something I'm a victim to. This is something that I get to decide how I'm going through this. Okay, and that's true for all of us. So today, I'm going to help us do the same thing. Okay, we can have a healthier perspective, know how to approach and perceive a problem, and tackle it with in a more productive and constructive way. So if you are listening and you want to give us a call at 603-384-3535, or if you're on the live stream and you want to comment, what is it that you're struggling with? What is something you struggled with? Maybe you've been able to overcome it. Maybe you've figured out how to get through it. Think about the process that you went through that got you from point A to point B. You had to get out of your own way. After, how many times have we had a problem? We get frustrated. We get mad. We maybe throw a tantrum. Okay, that's just me. I've done that in the past. I've come a long way. So that's, I've learned that doesn't serve me. It doesn't help me. It certainly doesn't help the people around me. So it's more important if we take that situation and we respond to it in a better way. So I'm thinking about the person that I was helping. As I said before, they were having a hard time. They couldn't get through something. So here's what I did for them. I listened to them, how they perceived the problem. I say perceived because a lot of the problems really are a perception in the wrong direction. And so there may be a lesson that needs to be learned or an opportunity that they don't see because of it. And when we get into that state where we don't have peace and we're uptight and we're whatever, it's really hard to get clarity on the solution. So we want to make sure that we stay in a place where we're not overwhelmed. Then we identified the real problem. And in this case, I asked the question and found this person had some fears about missing out. If I have to go do this thing I don't want to do, then I'll have to take time away from the thing I want to do. And so they didn't take responsibility for those other things, even though they were important to their end goal. Okay? Because who of us hasn't been there? When we think about it, I'd rather do this, so I'll just procrastinate that, and I'll put it off tomorrow, what I can do today, and until it's painful enough that I have to move. So a lot of us wait till we have a pain before we move, and I think that's the wrong way to do it. We want to always be moving, taking care of what's in front of us without procrastinating. That way we never get stuck in a place where it's painful and have to dig our way out of that nasty hole. Okay, so we want to see the big picture. Imagine you've solved a problem, and how do you feel? That's what I helped this lady do. I helped her imagine her problem, but I also helped her imagine the solution. And I said, how would it feel if you didn't have that problem? What would it look like? What would you be doing if that was no longer there? And she began to say, well, I would be doing more of the thing I like. Well, so you're avoiding doing the thing you need to do the thing you like, but now it's infringing upon you doing the thing you like that just brought you to a place of pain where now you have no choice but to deal with it. Okay, so we identified that problem. I helped her see the big picture, helped her see it finished. And this is really important. You need to say, what do I want to happen, not what is happening. If you see, what do I want to happen, and then you can work your way backwards from there. This is what I want to happen. This is where I am. What would be the thing that would have to come before that and before that to bridge the gap that I have there? Okay, so and then I asked this person, what's going to happen if you don't solve this problem? And a lot of times there's tears involved in this kind of a question because, especially in this person, they work with children and people in a that rely on them. And the truth is most of us have people who heavily rely on us, and what they realized, they got this own revelation or epiphany in their own mind, was at this point they could see that they're not taking responsibility for the thing that was causing pain was preventing them from actually helping the people they wanted to, the people they loved. And they kind of broke their own heart thinking about, wow, I sabotaged myself. I did this to me. And because I allowed this, now it's affecting them negatively. So that perspective, that bigger picture right there, was something that was very important in part of the process of really realizing, perceiving what the real problem was. It wasn't that I just need someone else to take this problem. It was that even if I have to learn how to do this, I can find a way. And these days with, like I said, with, the internet and all this, there's no excuse for ignorance anymore. We're becoming a more and more self-educated, people. We're just becoming more self-educated. I know for me, every time I need to learn something, I can always access an answer somewhere. Okay, someone else has seen your problem, I promise you. So in this situation, the negative effect on someone else's life that she loved was the thing that turned her perspective around to kind of complaining and being disappointed that she even had to even address the problem to it's not so bad, because she saw her reason was bigger than her excuse. Okay, so that's what's really what needs to happen. When your reason becomes bigger than your excuse, okay, excuses are useless. We either have a reason or an excuse. Reasons help us and others, and excuses hurt us, and sometimes it hurts others, whether we like it or not. Okay, so we always have a choice. Think about that. We always have a choice. The moment we think we don't, okay, we're basically giving our power away, our ability to solve a problem away, and nothing should be able to take that from us. Not without our permission. All right? So the bottom line is what we allow will continue. And we're going to take a short break here, and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk a little about what the next things we did to narrow this down and how it can affect the problems that you're facing. So I'll be back right after this. Appreciate you staying tuned, supporting those that support us so that we can continue our live broadcast every week. So stay tuned.
Little Leapers and Knowledge Keepers Childcare and Preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years' experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen. Located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603-491-1780.
Hi, I'm Lynn Greene, Advancement Strategist and owner of AlphaAdvancementStrategies.com. I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Major, certified coach and speaker. Join me Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for It's a Wonderful Life, all about leadership development and living a positive lifestyle. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
Welcome back to In It Together. We are in the good life, in the midst of a good life, talking about first world problem solving and maybe giving another perspective to you so that you can know how to approach your problem and take responsibility for it. I was saying just before we closed out the last segment that we always have a choice in whether we make an excuse or we find the reason, whether we need to get help. However we do that, if we become the person that says the buck stops here, if there's a problem in my life, around my life that I see and it's within my power to do something about it, I'm going to be that person. Okay, so we were talking about what we allow to continue, what we allow will continue. Okay, so that's a Dr. Phil line, by the way. I'm not going to pretend that's mine. So the next thing we did when I was working with this person, once they realized what the real problem was really how they were looking at it. They saw the big picture. They saw the thing finished and began to work backwards, and saw they could see how they could solve that problem. So one of the things we had to do was narrow down the things that they considered urgent and important. Okay, there are some things that are urgent, not important, some things that are important but not urgent, and we can go around that merry-go-round, but we really wrote down the things that they considered urgent right now and important. And then what we did was we realized we have to do this now, and then we began to plan a strategy to implement it. What is the most, of course, I have a big whiteboard in my office, and so we begin to write out and mark out what that might look like. And the good part about it is it can be in a way that fits your personality, your style. It doesn't have to look like everybody else's. Some people get hung up on, let me give you an example. There was someone one time that I was working with that needed some kind of a financial program to keep track of their expenses and stuff in their business. And, you know, they would go to people to get help, and everybody would tell them, oh, yeah, I use QuickBooks, just use this. And another person would say, no, I use this. And then, and before you know it, there were so many, oh, just use that app. There were so many options. They became overwhelmed, and especially when it wasn't something that was an area that came easy to them. And so I just said to them, nope. What I've learned, I really almost wanted to title the show today is Finding the Systems That Fit to Solve Your Problems, because this is really where it comes down to. We're always creating systems in our life, and it kind of comes from the habits of whether we're coming from a place of finding a solution or we're focusing on a problem, okay? So the systems that we were basically putting a system in place. I said a strategy, but really it was a system, is like what's going to work for you based on the time frame that you have, based on the resources you have, the equipment you have. Somebody that maybe doesn't have a lot of resources, maybe we'll have to do it in an old-fashioned pen and paper, and we create something there. Some of you, if you have a computer, you can use some kind of a document. Others, if you're more tech savvy, then we can use some kind of an app or program. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's what are you comfortable with? Maybe you need to learn on the paper first, and then once you get the concept of how it works, then you can translate that into a more technological solution. Okay, so don't let anybody ever pressure you into a certain type of solution that overwhelms you like that. I think as a coach, one of the things that advancement strategist coach, everybody calls himself a coach, but I really feel like it's important to know how to advance people and come up with a strategy that fits them. And a lot of times people will try to, it's a one-size-fits-all, and I just don't believe that. I think we're all wired different. We all have different ways of approaching things, and it's not a bad thing. It's okay. Whatever fits you, whatever fits your style is the best way to do it. So in this instance, I had an idea that could help them before they came, because we had a conversation prior. And this is normally what I do with client. I'll be talking with someone, whether I'm in a meeting or a group or something, and someone will come up to me and I'll say, hey, so how's things going? And they begin to tell me, well, I'm doing all right. It's are there any things in your life that you could use some help with? It's like, yeah, because we try to network and help each other. That's the whole point. And they're like, yeah, I'm struggling with this or this. And so I said, okay. I start to get an idea of what it is that they, that their need is. I identify what's the real problem. And that's a skill, actually, to be able to identify a real problem. And whether someone's telling you the whole truth or, being able to see what they're not telling you is also really important. But for yourself, in this instance, I had an idea of what they needed. And because I did, when I called them to come and meet me, I guess you could call that as a pre-qualifier. Am I the right person that can help them? And I felt that I was. So I talked to somebody else that I knew was going to have some other insight and abilities to help the situation that I did not have at the moment. It didn't mean I couldn't learn it, but for time's sake, in the meeting, I wasn't able to have that time to learn it. So at that point, I just called another person into our meeting. So our first session, I brought this person in, and the whole goal was to be able to start taking action on the spot. We shifted their mindset, had them look at the big picture. We removed their excuses. They took responsibility for what the problem was, and then we began to show them a methodical, strategic plan on how they could implement it. And then we started helping them on the spot. This obviously built confidence in them, excitement in them. They didn't feel alone. It's kind of like when you're going to do something for the first time. A lot of times you don't want to go to something by yourself. You'll say you'll bring a friend, or you'll ask someone to go with you, or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think a really healthy environment is where you have support, someone you can bounce things off. And that's what I do as an advancement strategist. A lot of what I do is I really, really actively listen to what people are telling me, what they think their problem is. And then if I can see that they're thinking it's one thing, but it's something else, that's where I can come in and begin to show them in a way that they can receive that, okay? So I brought this other person in to help them. We continued to bust the mindsets or excuses this other person had as they talked about what they were trying to do and why it wasn't working. I would continue every time they would say something that was off. I would say, okay, but what if you look at it this way instead? And so we kept flipping over every one of those negative things until there was no more. And when you do that, what happens is all you have is just clarity. All you get is clarity after that. So now they could see the big picture. They were being, and this is kind of a healthy way that I keep them accountable too. So a lot of people, that's kind of like a swear word, accountability, where they feel like, you're a drill sergeant and you're like, got a whip out and you're like, shh, do what I told you. And that's not what we're talking about. And accountability was, I see what you're saying, but let me offer you another perspective to consider. And then once they adopt that, I'll say, okay. And then if they go back or regress into the negativity, I say, yeah, but remember you said you understood this. That keeps them accountable. And they go, oh, that's right. And it's just a reminder because it's new. And there's nothing wrong with a reminder. And that's what we support them in reframing, how they perceived before into the picture that they want. Okay, we want to reframe that. All right, let's see. One of the things that's really important is this person was dealing with some fears, as I said before. A fear of missing out, a fear of, not being able to do what they want. And so the person that's helping them, you have to be the one that's fearless. You want to be sensitive to what they need enough to give them help, but you also have to be fearless enough to tell them the truth when they're believing a lie. Okay? So we have to approach things from an honest place. But the way I do it is usually very gracious and encouraging in the process because we want to build them up and build their confidence, not if you get critical or judgmental or anything like that, what you end up doing is you magnify the pain that they're already in. And I certainly don't ever want to do that. So what we want to do and what I do is help people rethink what they already know and then fill in the holes of the things that they didn't even consider. They may not have seen in the big picture. And once they see the big picture, then they see all the different pieces. It's kind of like having an upside down puzzle where you can see the shapes and stuff and they're there, but you don't know how they connect until you turn it over. And so that's kind of what happens. And it happens as it's a mindset that happens when we do that. And I can lead them into a place where they can face themselves honestly, take responsibility of their attitudes, the state of their heart, and then they can be honest, and then I can do that in a supportive way so they can move forward with confidence. So most of the people struggle with taking responsibility, but also seeing that action would bring a good outcome. Okay, so while inaction would bring more disappointments and an inability to enjoy their life as they want, I help them bring that confidence and possibility, thinking of possibilities and other options. You always have an option. So let's take a moment and think about what that pressing problem is for you in your life right now. It can be a new problem. It can be something that comes up unexpectedly or something that's been in your life and it seems like it's been unresolvable for a while. Ask yourself this. Do I have a problem right now that I need solving? And do I feel kind of helpless to solve it? I feel overwhelmed that I don't know what my next step would be or how to do it. What will happen if I do nothing? Okay? What would it feel like, though, if I finally solve it? So here's an option. If you want, we can connect on a brief phone call. And in that call, I can usually tell if I'm the right person for you or I can refer you to somebody that might be the right person for you. And if you're open to meet after that and I think I can help you, whether it's with me or somebody that I pull in, then we can sit down and do the same thing. We can go through the process of how you're thinking about it, what you really want, and we can bridge that gap in. Anyway, so I hope today that you're able to solve a first world problem in your life. I've pretty much finished everything I'm going to share today. So I'm going to be right back after this. So stay tuned. We'll be back, and I'm going to tell you what's coming up tomorrow.
Morgan Self-Storage has been serving Manchester and Salem, New Hampshire for over 15 years. Facilities are heated with security and video surveillance in well-lit hallways, easy access loading, and high-capacity elevators. With many-sized units, portable trailers, and boxes for moving, we can meet your residential or business storage needs. 400 Bedford Street in Manchester or 8 Willow Street in Salem. Visit morganstorage.com or call us at 603-623-2000. Morgan Self-Storage, making self-storage secure, safe, and easy.
Hi, I'm Jen Lever, anchor of the Recovery Now segments. Join me Tuesdays at 9 a.m. where I offer support to families struggling with addiction. Hear personal stories, learn the signs of addiction, and get help for your loved ones. Only on In It Together with Lynn Greene.
All right, well, that concludes today's show. Obviously, tomorrow, as you heard in the previous post, Jen Lever will be here for Recovery Now to help you with your loved ones dealing with addiction. Have yourself a blessed day, and remember, we are in it together.